So if you feel like your emotional eating intensifies during the holiday seasons, you're not going crazy. There's a real reason why this is happening. So this season tends to bring up old patterns, and emotional eating is one of those big patterns. So let's dive in and explore why this is happening. So let's break down why and what you can do instead. So trigger season, as I like to affectionately call it, is any time that you are put back into situations which bring up your old triggers. This can be the holidays, like Christmas, Thanksgiving. It can be get-togethers, the start of the school year. It can be because the weather is changing, we have less sunlight, it's colder, we're socializing more and interacting with others. So these are the sort of situations that bring up our triggers more intensely. So it's because there is more pressure, there's more stress, there's more emotional activation. You're interacting with some of the people that created your earliest triggers. And so of course this can be a season that emotional eating spikes. And so if you find that during these times of year your emotional eating feels like it's more out of control, it's not that you lack discipline, it's that you're going back to a coping mechanism that helped you to soothe and feel okay in these situations. It's such an ingrained pattern, and when we're in these situations that are activating sort of our deeper pattern, we're going to automatically go back to food if we haven't done the deeper work to really explore and resolve it. And so you're essentially using food to soothe, to help you cope with this distress, discomfort, uncomfortable emotions, more pressure, more stress, and it's your way of helping to calm yourself, calm your nervous system, to regulate yourself. So why does your emotional eating spike during this time? So the way I see it is that there's a lot of, let's say, physical stress. If it's based on the weather, it's colder, there's less sunlight, and so our physical needs are not being met, and that overwhelms our body physically, so we're in a more stressed state. There's also less space for your own needs, so if you're socializing more, being around others, you have more things to show up to, that impacts your capacity, and that overwhelms your system and creates stress. And then of course the really potent one is emotional activation. You're around a lot of people, family members that probably created this earlier trigger. So the same people that created this pattern, these triggers, and now you're around them more, and it's activating that pattern at this deep level. And so you're around more food, you have more easy access to food, and you revert back to your old coping mechanisms if you haven't been working on your pattern. So what happens during this trigger season is that a lot of women try to put more rules on themselves. They try to micromanage, or what happens, you give in during the holiday season, and then in January we get that rush of everyone wanting to do the latest diet, to restrict, to get back into shape, to get back on the wagon. And that is really counterintuitive, because emotional eating is not about restriction. That can actually drive the pattern. So let's say you try in January, you're doing it, or over the holidays trying to be really good and fight your urges, and then you don't, and you feel shame, you spiral back into your emotional eating even deeper. So you can't restrict your way out of emotional eating. That's really the old way of thinking about this. We have to look deeper to what you actually need. So here's what you can do instead, and this is what I teach my clients to do. First of all, you need to see when your emotional eating urge is coming up. And a great way to do this is to discern true from emotional hunger, so you can start tracking your emotional eating urges. You can start seeing when you're emotionally hungry. So if you're at that dinner, someone makes a comment and, they talk about your body, or they mention something about your work, and all of a sudden you start feeling shame and embarrassed, and then you're eating the food and you're like, oh my God, what's going on? Or you show up at a holiday get together and you're in a great outfit and no one acknowledges you, and you feel like, oh my God, I don't look great and I don't feel good, and then you spiral. You have to really see something more is happening here, because then you will automatically go to the food. But if you can pause and see, this is my trigger, this is what's coming up, that gives you a bit more space and awareness. And if you want to start tracking these triggers, you can download my free guide called What Are You Truly Hungry For? I'll put it in the link below. So once you have that trigger, it's a doorway to figuring out what you actually need. So consciously, you might think like, maybe, I need more time. I need to do less get-togethers. I feel really overwhelmed. But when I'm working with clients inside of the Emotional Eating Evolution program, we're actually using those triggers to go deeper. I find that it's pointing to a deeper core wound about, let's say I had a client, she would get literally family members would talk about her body and she would feel shame and spiral, even though she was doing everything she could to take care of herself. And so when we got into that deeper root, it goes back to childhood and not being seen or heard or valued. And that's the deeper core wound. But for now, you can look at what's going on in your world, what's sort of around the trigger. It's going to this get together. It's someone making this comment. It's going to give you more awareness. And so when we're doing this in the program, we're looking at how can we meet those deeper needs. So maybe it's a deeper emotional need that you need met. How can you give that to yourself on this deep body level and resolve it? Maybe you are eating more because you've been in that restriction cycle. So now you're binging and your brain is like making you obsess about food. Or maybe you're feeling body shame or not having body acceptance. We have to look at what's the root of this. And so when you're able to get to that root and resolve it, and if you're doing this before the trigger season, the holiday season, you can move through it with much more ease. My clients move through the holidays with feeling ease and confidence in their body and around food. They're not falling back into old triggers. They have an awareness of it, and they have the tools like the meditations and the program to help them get to the other side, to move through that so they're not triggered in the moment. They're being really proactive. So I used to really not like these seasons of get-togethers because I knew that I would be really triggered and activated. And so how I got through them was that I had a plan before. I was always working on my triggers, and I knew that if I was in a situation in the moment, that I would leave and process that as much as possible or make a note so that I could work on the trigger later on. So I was really aware in the situation. I would make sure I was nourishing myself, so eating foods that felt really good in my body. I wasn't restricting throughout the day or trying to save up for that dinner. I was really in my body, in tune with it, accepting its rhythms, making sure I was getting enough rest and movement before get together. So I was really treating myself well. And of course, I was doing the deeper emotional work to anticipate any triggers that would come up. And in the moment, I had a plan that if they did, I could take a note of it and work on it later, or excuse myself, go for a walk and work on it on the walk. But I had a plan of how I was going to really move through that so that I wouldn't be derailed. And sometimes the choice we make is we don't go to as many get-togethers, or we don't interact as many times with certain situations. We will find that as we do the deeper work and meet our deeper emotional needs, what we need in terms of nourishment, in terms of what our body needs, and emotionally. And so if you want to dive in a bit deeper with me, you can download my free guide called What Are You Truly Hungry For? That's going to give you a really great idea of your triggers that are coming up for this season. And if you want deeper support, you don't want to go through another trigger season, you want to start January in a way that's more grounded versus just trying to jump to restriction, I'd love to invite you to find out more about the Emotional Eating Evolution program. This is my 12-week container, and inside of it, you have the step-by-step process, you have office hours, one-to-one sessions with me to really get to the root of your emotional eating, to shift it so that you have ease and peace and confidence around food and in your body in a sustainable way, so that whenever these seasons come up, you can track them and you can move through them with more ease. So the link for that will be below. If you have any questions about what I've shared today, please let me know. Please be sure to like and subscribe. I look forward to sharing more with you, and I hope you have a great day.